Yeah, that's a big one, and it's hard to do because you need good parts, people who can get them, and some of that infrastructure on site. But really, Parker Schnabel went from living on a friend's couch to owning a $15 million gold mine. By age 24, he had already made $13 million in gold. Now, he pays his workers more than doctors make in a year and drives cars worth more than most people's homes. But here's what gold does. We won't show you the wild trips to Las Vegas, the fancy cars, or the real reason his girlfriend broke up with him. Instead, we'll take you inside the private life of TV's richest young star, Parker Schnabel. Parker Schnabel didn't grow up like most kids. He learned to operate heavy machinery for the first time when he was 5 years old at his grandfather's mine in Hannis, Alaska. It was called Big Nugget Mine. And it wasn't a playground. It was a real gold mine. And Parker wasn't just there to watch his grandfather, John Schnabel, work. Parker learned how to drive real trucks instead of toy ones. He was in the driver's seat of loaders and dozers while most kids were still learning how to use training wheels. That early experience changed everything. Hannis is a small town with about 1,700 people. It's surrounded by wilderness, and life there is hard. Winters are long and summers are short. If something breaks, you fix it yourself. Growing up there taught Parker how to work hard, think quickly, and stay focused. Parker learned how to move dirt, manage crews, and understand the value of gold while other kids played video games. By the time Parker was 16, things started to change because his grandfather's health was getting worse. John Schnabel was more than just family. He was a mentor and a legend in the mining world. When John died at 96 on March 18, 2016, Parker took over the family business. He had been helping to run Big Nugget Mine, but now he was in charge of everything. Losing his grandfather was hard enough, but taking over the whole operation at such a young age made it even harder. But Parker didn't give up. He took charge and made sure the mine stayed alive. Then he made a surprising choice. Instead of going to college, he spent all $66,300 on mining equipment. It wasn't a guess. He believed in what he was doing and was willing to risk everything on it. The money helped him grow his business and make it more efficient. It was a risk, but it paid off in the end, and that investment turned into millions of dollars. Parker Schnabel was only 16 when he first appeared on Gold Rush. He was shy and unknown, and the producers weren't sure he was the right fit. A teenager leading a mining crew didn't sound like a story that could fill a whole season, but they saw him in action and knew he was the one. Parker grew up on the Big Nugget Mine in Alaska, where his grandfather John Schnabel had taught him how to mine. From the time he could walk, he wasn't just a kid with a famous last name. He knew how to handle heavy equipment, talk through strategy, and understand the risks. At his first audition, the crew watched him break down how to run a mine from top to bottom without a script or any coaching. It was more than most adults they'd seen. What really made things go was how naturally he handled machines. At 16, he ran heavy equipment with steady hands and knew what each piece did and when to use it. That kind of skill doesn't come from books. It comes from years of working in the dirt. The producers took a chance on him, and it paid off when he negotiated a $25,000 per episode deal. For someone so young, that amount was surprising, but he wasn't just filling screen time. He was running real operations and making decisions that could cost or save millions of dollars as the show grew and viewers followed his journey. Parker's value went up quickly, and he was eventually making up to $100,000 per episode. Even with that much money, he didn't start living like a celebrity. He didn't buy flashy cars or big houses. Instead, he spent it on the people around him, going on hunting trips and traveling with his crew. He once said that he'd rather spend money on memories than on stuff. And that made him stand out in reality TV. The job wasn't easy. Planning and filming each season of Gold Rush took months. Parker spent most of his time on camera, on location, and under pressure, while most teens were busy with school or sports. Parker was in charge of full-scale mining operations in the middle of the Yukon. Parker Schnabel was still in his early 20s when he pulled off one of the most impressive gold hauls in modern mining. It happened in the Klondike, a place known for harsh weather, hard ground, and gold that's never easy to find. During one season, Parker and his crew dug up $1,029 worth of gold. Winning over $1,700,000 at the time for someone his age wasn't just a personal victory, it changed how people saw him in the mining world as a whole. That haul didn't happen by accident. Parker had to plan every move. He was in charge of a full team running wash plants and machines that didn't stop working, all while keeping things running during the short mining season. It was hard work, but he kept things going. That kind of pressure breaks a lot of people, But Parker made it look like he belonged there. He didn't just survive, he dominated. Even more powerful was the fact that most people his age were in college classes or looking for their first jobs, but Parker was out in the cold digging for gold and pulling more than $1 million out of the ground. That 1,029 haul wasn't just gold. It was proof that he understood the land, the risk, and the grind better than most people twice his age. This milestone wasn't just big money. It made Parker a central character on Gold Rush and showed that he wasn't just lucky, he was good. Viewers started to see he was no longer just a young man with a shovel, he was becoming a serious player. That season set him on a new path, and everything that happened after that began with that season. Years later, Parker made a move that shocked even experienced miners. He bought Dominion Creek for $15 million when he was only 28 years old. Dominion was known for having huge potential, with up to $200 million worth of gold still in the ground, but it also came with huge risks. Parker had to mine 10,000 ounces of gold every season for 6 years in order to break even. If he missed that number, he would lose everything. Even with all the work he put into the deal, things didn't go as planned. In the first 4 weeks, his team could only pull 135.0. The frozen ground slowed them down and machines started breaking. Everything that could go wrong seemed to happen at once, but Parker didn't give up. He changed his plan, brought in better machines, and even spent $540,000 on new water pumps that could move 76 gallons of water a minute to help with gold recovery. Every step was a risk, but he kept pushing for the Dominion deal. That said a lot about him. He wasn't chasing Parker. Didn't care about the short-term losses because he believed in the long-term payoff. Most people would have given up, but he went all in. But by early 2025, things were getting tough at Dominion Creek. The numbers weren't coming in the way he had hoped, and costs kept going up. In February, in the middle of the season, Parker made another move. He bought 2 more claims, Gold Run and Sulphur Creek, for $2. Everyone was caught off guard when $5 million was risked. These claims weren't just picked at random. Gold Run and Sulphur Creek had been mined for over 100 years, and even after all that time, they still held solid gold. 2 days into mining one of the cuts at Sulphur Creek, the crew pulled out 141. The crew was split on whether the decision was smart or not. Moving wash plants and machines across 25 miles of rough terrain took a lot of work. Some thought it was a good idea, while others were worried that Parker was getting deeper into debt. But Parker kept his cool. He said he had already accepted the debt and was ready to face whatever came next, whether it was praise or regret. The purchase became one of the most dramatic moments of Gold Rush Season 15, and it showed Parker wasn't done taking risks. Even when things looked like they were going wrong, he doubled down. That move reminded everyone that he wasn't successful by playing it safe, but by making tough decisions and accepting the results. None of this would be as impressive if Parker hadn't already done something most miners can only dream of. By the time he was 24, he had pulled over $13 million worth of gold out of the ground. That's a huge amount of gold for most people. Parker was already working in a career when he was that age. He started at his grandfather's Big Nugget mine in Alaska, where he learned quickly. When he was 18, he made a big choice. He took the money that was supposed to pay for college and leased land from Tony Beats in the Klondike. That one move changed his whole future. He started building his own team, running his own site, and learning everything about the job, including geology, equipment, and leadership. He didn't spend his money on big houses like most young millionaires might. Instead of buying sports cars, he put the money back into his business, bought better equipment, expanded into new areas, and focused on long-term growth. Every season he tried to get better, and that drive is what kept him ahead. Parker Schnabel was only 18 years old when he quit his job at his family's Alaskan nugget mine and went to work in the Klondike. He didn't use his college fund to go to school. Instead, he used it to start a mining operation. The first person he talked to was Tony Beats, who was already a legend in the mining world. Tony had land that Parker could mine, so the two made a deal. It was Parker's first real move as a miner on his own, but the deal came with a price. Tony knew that Parker was young and inexperienced, so he took full advantage of that. At first, Parker only had to pay 15% on the first 1,500 ounces, but that amount went up by 5% every 1,500 ounces after that, and by the time he reached 6,000 ounces, he was paying 25%. Parker didn't fully realize how bad the deal was until season 8, when he had to stop mining right at 6,000 just to get out of debt. In season 9, Parker made it clear how bad things had gotten on 8,000 ounces. Tony Beets said, "Honestly, I'd go broke doing that," and Parker tried to renegotiate, but Tony wouldn't budge. Tony's refusal to budge forced Parker to get creative. He came up with a plan to reset the royalty count by switching wash plants every time his crew got close to the 1,500 ounce mark. This was a loophole, but it worked. Then there was the moment that turned everything upside down. In March 2017, during season 8, Tony learned that Parker had been moving dirt from another claim through Tony's land to avoid paying higher royalties. Tony saw rock trucks sneaking through his yard and immediately shut everything down. He stormed into Parker's operation in front of the cameras and yelled, "You've been sneaking through the yard with rock trucks all week. The contract says that while you're leasing the ground from us, that's the only material you're going to move." Parker didn't back down. He told Tony that he was being greedy and that he would get over $1 million this year. When Tony said that wasn't enough, Parker snapped, "Then you can go yourself." That line started one of the most explosive feuds in the history of the gold rush. Their relationship changed as the rivalry grew. In season 4, Tony had been like a mentor to Parker, but by 2025 he saw Parker as a full-on threat. During the season 13 premiere, Tony leased Parker only the part of his Indian River claim that he didn't want. It was a small act of respect, but it was also a smart move. Tony never praised Parker in public. Instead, on January 28, 2025, he made fun of Parker's strategy, saying that Parker was trying to run 3 wash plants at once and was biting off more than he can chew. Tony also said that Parker's focus on short-term goals would cost him in the long run, and by early 2025, Parker was $2,500,000 in debt. Tony saw what Parker was doing behind closed doors and told his son Kevin that Parker's gold recovery rates were something to learn from, not laugh at. Even Tony knew the kid was smart. The story of Parker Schnabel and Todd Hoffman isn't just a rivalry, it's a full-on clash of ambition, pride, and completely different ideas on how to run a gold mine. It started with a deal that should have been easy, but turned into a battle of wills. At the most dramatic point of Gold Rush, Parker bought a wash plant from Todd for $700 of gold, which was worth about $46,000 at the time. Todd thought he was being smart by getting rid of what he thought was a useless piece of equipment, but Parker had other ideas. He made it work, and that wash plant became an important part of his gold operation. Parker's success with that junk was a slap in the face to Todd, who had thought Parker was not smart from the start. This moment didn't just hurt, it made the gap between them bigger. Parker was rising and Todd was falling. Todd didn't keep quiet either. He accused Parker of being rude, especially to older workers. In interviews, Todd said it was hard to see older crew members get fired by someone so young. He called Parker cocky and careless around people who had been in the business longer. This wasn't just a work issue, it turned into a generational conflict. Todd stood for tradition and experience, while Parker people had different opinions about them. Some liked Todd because they believed in loyalty and respect, while others admired Parker's focus and ability to get things done no matter what. Things didn't stop at words. The tension between their crews exploded more than once, and real fights broke out on set. At one point, a simple argument over mining yields turned into a crew brawl, and screaming accusations of sabotage were heard. It became so bad that the production team had to step in to keep things from falling apart completely. It wasn't just awkward to watch, it was also bad for morale. Viewers noticed the rising tension and began to wonder if the show could keep going like this. By 2018, things had reached a breaking point. Todd Hoffman quit the show, and it wasn't just for business reasons. His operation had been struggling for a while and wasn't making much money. Parker, on the other hand, was breaking records season after season, making it impossible to compare the two. People were always comparing Todd to Parker, and that pressure got to him. In interviews after he quit, Todd said that the toxic environment was a big reason for his decision. He also said that reality TV was hurting his personal life and mental health and that it wasn't worth it anymore, even though he later came back with a new show called Hoffman Family Gold. Todd's departure from Gold Rush ended one of the most intense rivalries in reality TV history. Parker Schnabel had his own story going on in a way in 2016. He met Ashley Yule in Australia. She was a veterinary nurse and had a positive attitude that the harsh world of mining couldn't dim. Parker asked her to come with him to the Klondike, and they dated for 2 years. Ashley wasn't just there for support, she worked in the Gold Room and helped the crew. In a 2017 interview with Maxim, Parker said that Ashley didn't get enough credit for how well that summer went, but despite all the good times, their relationship ended in the last episode of season 8. Parker did something he didn't do very often. He said that the breakup with Ashley was one of his biggest mistakes. He said that he didn't put her first and that she deserved better. Ashley never talked about it in public. She deleted all of Parker's posts from her social media and went back to Australia. Her silence only made Parker's regret stand out more. A few months later, on August 13th, 2018, Parker posted a picture of himself with Sheena Cowell. People started wondering right away if the woman in the picture was his new girlfriend because it was a personal picture and it happened just months after he broke up with Ashley. Neither of them confirmed anything, but Sheena's experience in the industry seemed like a good fit for someone with such an unusual lifestyle. Parker had even told People magazine in 2024 that explaining what he does can sound like he's from another planet. Still, rumors died down in 2019 when it was said that Sheena already had a boyfriend. Then there was Tyler Mahoney. In 2020, during Season 4 of Gold Rush, Parker's Trail, Parker teamed up with the fourth-generation Aussie gold prospector. They were both the same age and had deep roots in gold mining. The chemistry between them was instant, and fans noticed it on social media and Reddit. People watched each of the 9 episodes closely, looking for signs of a budding romance, but the show didn't shy away from it. Editing focused on how well they worked together and how much they loved what they did, but if anything happened behind the scenes, it never made it to the screen. Unlike Ashley, there was no captured kiss or confirmation. There was only mutual respect and good TV. Parker later bought a claim in Australia, which made fans wonder if Tyler would remain an important part of his story. As of 2023 and 2024, there's still no official word. The romance rumors haven't gone away, but neither of them has confirmed anything. What is clear is that they work well together. In 2018, while filming Parker's Trail in Papua New Guinea, things got heated between Parker and his cameraman James Lavelle. At first, they got along well, but quickly creative tension rose. On July 12, things went off the rails when Lavelle insisted on filming a dangerous river crossing. Parker refused, but Lavelle insisted. What followed was a screaming match that lasted over 3 hours. By the end, crew members could hear them yelling from over 100 meters away. Parker threatened to quit the whole project. 3 days later, on July 15, executives had to step in and take Lavelle off the shoot. By that time, only 60% of the planned footage had been filmed, and the changes caused chaos and cost Discovery about $380,000. The damage didn't stop there. On September 3, Lavelle sued Raw TV, the company behind the show, for breach of contract. The case was settled out of court in February 2019, but Parker and Lavelle never spoke again. A few months later, Parker was in the news again for, on March 17, 2019, at about 2:15 p.m., he was pulled over by Trooper Michael Ingram on Alaska's Hannes Highway. He was driving his 2018 Ford F-150 at 64 inks in a 55 inks zone, which is only 4 to 9 inks over the limit. He was given a $60 ticket with the citation number AK1,903,275. Usually this wouldn't have been noticed, but Parker didn't respond to the ticket until April 12, 2019, when the court sent him a warning. He finally pled no contest on May 6, 2019, after which the story went viral. A joke that went viral said Parker could have paid the fine with the change from his gold pants. The fine wasn't the problem, it was how people reacted to it. Some fans began to wonder how responsible he really was. Then came 2024. It was supposed to be just another season of Gold Rush, but it almost broke him. During filming for season 15, Parker faced a series of disasters that pushed him to the edge. On June 12th, there was a major equipment failure at the Dominion Creek claim, resulting in the loss of potential gold recovery, was valued at $2,300,000. Just a few days later, problems with permits forced the 17-day shutdown, cost an extra $1,500,000 in lost production and overhead costs. By August 3, Parker's cash reserves were down to just $78,000, barely enough to keep the business going for 1 week. In a last-ditch effort, he pawned his 1957 Chevrolet Bear, which belonged to his late grandfather and was one of Parker's most prized possessions. He got $115,000, which he used to pay his employees. Things got so bad that on August 28, he held an emergency meeting. In a meeting with his crew, he told them they could leave without any consequences, but 3 important team members, including Mitch Blaschke, stayed and worked without pay for 2 weeks to help Parker get better. On September 7, they finally hit a lucky pay streak that netted them 1,872 ounces of gold, worth about $3,500,000. This saved the whole operation, but only small parts of the story were shown on TV because the whole thing was deemed too intense for air. His mining operations are huge, and his crew made $24 million in season 14. He reportedly makes around $100,000 per episode, which adds up to about $2 million per season, but he doesn't spend like someone with that much money. In interviews, Parker has said that he doesn't even own a house outside of his mine site, and at one point he was staying on a friend's couch in Los Angeles. Other reports, however, say that he does own multiple properties, including a home in his Alaskan home is said to be 2,000 square feet and has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Another report said he paid over $950,000 for his dream home. He is also thought to be one of the biggest landowners in the Klondike region. Some of his wealth can be seen in his cars. He has a custom Ford Raptor with black and red detailing, a Mercedes-Benz B-Wagon built for rough travel, a Jeep Wrangler for off-road trips, a modified Chevrolet Silverado, and a Chevrolet Silverado. Even though he has a lot of flashy things, he says he doesn't really spend much money on things. Instead, he says he prefers experiences. Every year he takes his crew on trips. They've gone hunting, done a 3-day Vegas run, and he took his father to a World Series game in 2023. He also spent 3 weeks traveling through London. Most of the money he makes goes back into his mining business.